When Aliens Stole Paris by Janson Davies. Chapter 1. The Hole Where Paris Was. It began with birds. On a crisp Tuesday morning, flocks of starlings and pigeons wheeled in confused spirals over the Ile-de-France region. Air traffic control stations lit up with emergency signals. Pilots reported turbulence, then silence, then nothing. At 6:03 a.m., a satellite image from the European Space Agency revealed the unthinkable. Paris was gone. Not bombed, not evacuated. Gone. A perfect circular void, laser-cut and a mile deep, yawned where the city had once stood. The Seine ended abruptly at the edge of the crater, pouring into the abyss like a broken artery. The Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, the Arc de Triomphe, the cafes, the cathedrals, the cobblestones, every monument, every arrondissement, every citizen had vanished. France panicked. The world followed. Within hours, global leaders convened emergency summits. Theories multiplied. Quantum collapse, terrorist superweapons, divine retribution. But none explained the precision, the absence, the silence. In Washington, President Mallory stared at the crater feed, her knuckles white. "Get me the astrophysics team," she said, "and the Vatican." And CERN, the hub of scientists from around the globe who explore fundamental questions about the universe. In Beijing, Moscow, Tokyo, and Nairobi, similar orders echoed. The world's best minds were summoned, but the answer came not from Earth. It came from a distant planet called Tolis 6, where an alien emperor reclined in a throne of frozen crystal, sipping liquefied methane and watching travel documentaries. He had seen the latest offering from the Paris Travel Bureau, an interstellar broadcast meant to entice alien tourists. It was exquisite. The music, the food, the architecture. The emperor, a collector of planetary curiosities, had found his next acquisition. He didn't want to visit Paris. That was beneath him. He wanted Paris brought to him. So he sent his dreadnought fleet. They arrived in the dead of night, cloaked in gravitational silence. Using quantum lattice extractors and spatial fold engines, they lifted the city cleanly from Earth's crust and transported it across the stars. By dawn, Paris was his, and Earth was missing an important part of its history. Chapter 2. The Emperor's Delight. On Tolis 6, the Emperor's palace shimmered beneath a sky of frozen auroras. The air was thin, the ground crusted with methane ice, and the throne room smelled faintly of sulfur and roasted starfish. Emperor Zorlak the Collector leaned forward, his 12 eyes glinting with anticipation. Before him, a holographic projection of Paris rotated slowly, captured in exquisite detail. The Eiffel Tower sparkled, the Seine flowed, the people screamed. "Magnificent," he whispered. His advisors, a cluster of gelatinous tacticians and bureaucrats, oozed into formation. They bowed, their voices harmonizing in a chorus of flattery. "You have acquired a jewel, Your Eminence. A triumph of cultural extraction. A city of romance, cuisine, and exquisite primitive art." Zorlak waved a claw. "Silence. I wish to walk its streets." A transport pod was prepared. The emperor descended into the city, now encased in a climate dome and nestled in a crater of ice. Paris had been stabilized, its infrastructure reconnected, its power grid adapted to alien standards. Hovering drones translated street signs into Tolesian script. The Louvre had been rebranded as the Emperor's Cabinet of Exotic Curiosities. He strolled past terrified Parisians who huddled in cafes and metro stations, whispering prayers and curses. The emperor admired the architecture, sampled a croissant, which he found dry, and declared the city adequate. But problems emerged quickly. The humans were noisy. They resisted. They demanded explanations, reparations, and mobile phone service. The emperor's zoologists attempted to classify them, but found their behavior erratic and their dietary needs absurd. Attempts to place them in zoos failed. Too many escaped, and one group formed a street band of musicians who disrupted the emperor's meditation chamber. Worse, the abduction had scooped up most of France's political class. Ministers, mayors, and bureaucrats now roamed the city, forming committees, issuing declarations, and arguing with alien guards about jurisdiction. "They are multiplying," one advisor warned. "They have formed a provisional government." Zorlak snarled. "Sell them." "Your Eminence, humans are difficult merchandise to move. They perish easily, they complain constantly, and they are not in demand." The emperor's delight began to sour. He had wanted a museum, a monument, a quiet jewel to admire. Instead, he had acquired a city of chaos, noise, and endless paperwork. And somewhere deep in the void between stars, Earth was coming. Chapter 3. The Crater Council. The crater where Paris had once stood became a shrine. Crowds gathered at its edge, staring into the mile-deep void as if expecting the city to return like a prodigal child. Journalists camped in tents, scientists lowered drones, priests lit candles, conspiracy theorists sold T-shirts. At the center of the chaos, a temporary command center had been erected, an angular fortress of steel and satellite dishes known as the Crater Council. Inside, the world's top leaders, scientists, and military strategists convened beneath flickering screens and holographic maps. General Randolph of the United Space Defense Initiative stood at the head of the table. "We have confirmation," she said. "Paris was taken. Not destroyed. Extracted. Stolen by aliens." He tapped a screen. A grainy image appeared, a fleet of alien dreadnoughts, shimmering with quantum distortion, hauling the city through a wormhole. "Destination, Tollies 6. Gasps rippled through the room. President Mallory leaned forward. "Can we get it back?" Dr. Saito, a physicist from Tokyo, adjusted his glasses. "We've tracked the wormhole signature. We can follow it, but we'll need a fleet. And weapons," added General Randolph. "We don't know what we're walking into." The Crater Council voted unanimously. Earth would respond. Within days, a multinational fleet was assembled, an armada of retrofitted space cruisers, orbital defense platforms, and experimental quantum drives. The mission was simple: retrieve Paris, protect Earth, send a message. Among the fleet's crew were astronauts, diplomats, linguists, and one very confused pastry chef who had volunteered thinking it was a culinary exchange program. As the ships prepared to launch, a final message was broadcast to the citizens of Earth. "Paris has been taken, but it is not lost. We will bring it home." The crowd at the crater erupted in cheers. Above them, the fleet ignited its engines, and in the cold silence of space, the Emperor's scanners detected an approaching threat. Chapter 4. The Parisian Resistance. Beneath the shimmering dome of alien containment, Paris refused to die. The city had been transplanted, yes, its foundations fused to ice, its skies replaced with auroral storms, but its soul remained. The cafes reopened, the metro ran, the bakeries baked, and in the shadow of the Eiffel Tower, a resistance was born. It began with whispers in Montmartre. A sculptor named Leah Moreau, whose studio had been converted into an alien observation post, began carving messages into statues. "We are not souvenirs," read one. "Paris belongs to Earth," read another. Tourists, now alien guards, didn't notice, but Parisians did. Soon the whispers spread. A jazz band that had escaped the alien zoo began performing nightly in the catacombs, their music encoded with coordinates and plans. A group of school teachers repurposed chalkboards to teach alien anatomy and weak points. A retired general organized drills in the Luxembourg Gardens, disguised as Tai Chi. They called themselves Les Fantômes, the ghosts. Their goal? Sabotage the dome's systems, disrupt alien surveillance, and prepare for Earth's arrival. But they were not alone. Among the alien engineers assigned to maintain the dome was a technician named Vexil, who had begun to question the mission. He had studied Earth's broadcasts, admired its art, and found the Emperor's conquest distasteful. He began leaving access codes in croissants, maps in museum brochures, warnings etched into the glass of aquarium tanks. Leia found one of his messages. She didn't trust him, but she followed the clues. Together, they uncovered a weakness in the dome's quantum lattice, a flaw that could be exploited when Earth's fleet arrived. Above them, the Emperor grew restless. Paris was noisy, rebellious, unmanageable. He considered vaporizing the city, but before he could act, the resistance struck. They hijacked the broadcast tower atop the Eiffel Dome and sent a message across the stars. To Earth, we are alive. We are fighting. Bring us home. The signal reached the Crater Council, and Earth's fleet accelerated. Chapter 5. Arrival. The Earth fleet emerged from the wormhole like a swarm of angry hornets. Their hulls shimmered with quantum shielding. Their engines burned with borrowed starlight. At the helm of the flagship Resolute, General Randolph surveyed the alien planet with grim resolve. Tollies 6 loomed below, an icy wasteland lit by auroras and dotted with imperial spires. And there, nestled in a crater of frost, was Paris, encased in a shimmering dome, still intact, still defiant. "Signal the fleet," Randolph said. "We begin negotiations." A transmission was sent to the Emperor's palace. It was polite, firm, unmistakably human. "Return the city, or face the consequences." Inside his throne room, Emperor Zorlak scoffed. Consequences? From them. His advisors urged caution. The Earth fleet was larger than expected, their technology crude but unpredictable, and the humans were angry. But Zorlak's pride was absolute. He refused. And so the skies erupted. The first volley came from Earth's orbital railguns, targeting the dome's quantum anchors. Alien dreadnoughts retaliated with gravitational pulses, warping space around the fleet. The battle was brutal, chaotic, and strangely poetic, a clash of civilizations over a stolen city of light. On the ground, Les Fantômes activated their sabotage protocols. Vexil disabled surveillance nodes. Leia Moreau led a charge through the Louvre, planting EMP charges beneath alien control stations. The jazz band played a coded rhythm that triggered resistance cells across the city. Paris fought back. Above, the tide turned. Earth's fleet, though battered, began to breach the dome's defenses. The Emperor's forces faltered. His advisors panicked. His throne flickered. And then, the Crater Council made its move. A diplomatic override was transmitted, an ancient galactic protocol that allowed planetary coalitions to challenge imperial sovereignty. The vote was unanimous. The Emperor was stripped of his title. Zorlak screamed. But the law was clear. Paris would be returned. Chapter 6. The Return. The dome cracked, not with violence but with ceremony. After the Emperor's dethronement, a delegation from the Galactic High Council arrived, towering beings of translucent logic and bureaucratic precision. They floated above Paris, their voices resonating in harmonic consensus. "By decree of interstellar law," they intoned, "this city shall be returned to its origin." The Parisians erupted in cheers. Alien guards retreated. The dome shimmered, then dissolved into stardust. The Eiffel Tower stood exposed beneath alien skies, proud and defiant. General Randolph landed with a diplomatic escort. He met Leia Moreau at the steps of the Palais Garnier, where resistance banners fluttered beside alien wreckage. "You kept it alive," Randolph said. Leia nodded. "We never stopped being Paris." The fleet began preparations. Quantum anchors were reattached, spatial fold engines recalibrated. The city would be returned exactly as it had been taken, cleanly, precisely, defiantly, but not without scars. The streets bore signs of rebellion. Statues had been repurposed. Alien graffiti mingled with protest art. The people had changed. They had seen the stars. They had fought for their soul. Vexil, the alien technician, watched from a distance. He had been granted asylum. He would live among humans now, studying their chaos, their beauty, their stubbornness. As the engines ignited, Paris shimmered. The city lifted once more, this time not as a trophy but as a survivor. Back on Earth, the crater waited. Crowds gathered, cameras rolled, children held signs, "Bienvenue à la maison." And then, with a flash of quantum light, Paris returned. The city settled into its old foundations as if it had never left, but it had, and it would never be the same. Above, the stars watched, and somewhere, deep in the void, the Emperor plotted. Chapter 7. Echoes of Light. Paris was home. The city settled into its old bones with a sigh. Buildings reconnected to power grids, fountains burbled with reclaimed water, and the Seine resumed its winding course as if it had never been interrupted. But beneath the surface, everything had changed. The Parisians walked differently now. They had seen alien skies, fought in frozen streets, danced in defiance beneath auroras. Their memories shimmered with trauma and triumph, and their stories spread like wildfire. Leia Moreau returned to her studio. She sculpted not in marble, but in alien alloys salvaged from the dome. Her latest piece, a statue of a jazz saxophonist mid-note, surrounded by floating resistance symbols, was installed in Place de la République. It became a pilgrimage site. Vexil, now granted Earth citizenship, took up residence in Montparnasse. He taught quantum mechanics at the Sorbonne and hosted weekly salons on interstellar ethics. He never spoke of the Emperor, but sometimes, when the wind was right, he hummed the resistance anthem. General Randolph was honored in a global ceremony. The Crater Council was dissolved, replaced by the Earth Coalition for Planetary Defense. Plans were drafted to shield other cities, to monitor wormhole activity, to prepare for future thefts. But Paris remained the symbol, the city that had been stolen and reclaimed. The Emperor, stripped of power, vanished into exile. Rumors placed him on a rogue moon, plotting revenge or writing memoirs. The Galactic High Council issued warnings but took no further action. And Earth moved forward. In the cafes, people toasted to survival. In the museums, alien artifacts were displayed beside impressionist paintings. In the metro, graffiti read, "We were taken. We returned. We remember." Above the city, satellites watched the stars, and in the hearts of its people, Paris glowed brighter than ever. Epilogue. The city that touched the stars. Years passed. Paris healed, but never forgot. The alien invasion became part of its mythos, woven into street murals, whispered in poetry, taught in schools. Children played games called dreadnought tag. Tour guides pointed to scorch marks on the Louvre and told stories of resistance jazz. The Eiffel Tower, once a symbol of romance, now bore a plaque. Here stood the beacon of defiance. When the stars stole our city, we fought back. Leia Moreau's sculptures dotted the skyline, hybrid forms of human and alien design, celebrating survival and transformation. Vexil became a beloved eccentric, known for his lectures on interstellar diplomacy and his fondness for espresso. Earth's fleet remained vigilant. The Crater Council's successor, the Earth Coalition for Planetary Defense, expanded its reach, ensuring no city would ever be stolen again. But Paris remained the heart of the movement, the city that had been taken and returned. And somewhere in the cold reaches of space, a dethroned emperor watched. He had lost his prize, his power, his pride. But he had gained something unexpected: curiosity. He began to study Earth, not as a collector, but as a student. He wrote essays on human resilience, composed operas about rebellion, and sent anonymous donations to the Paris Travel Bureau. He never visited, but he never forgot. And Paris, the city of light, continued to shine, brighter than ever, touched by stars, tempered by fire, and forever unbowed. The end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.